Hello and welcome to the World Pool Preview this weekend, where we have the Lightning Stakes at Flemington, and it is Saudi Cup Day over in Saudi Arabia for their big weekend where the eyes of the racing world head over to the Middle East. I'm Alex Donnelly, here to break down the Lightning Stakes this weekend at Flemington. It is the first Group 1 of the calendar year here in Australia. We'll take a look at two of the races over in Saudi Arabia. Of course, we'll take a look at the main event, the Saudi Cup. Forever Young looks to defend his title. And we'll have a look at the Neom Turf Cup as well. But just quickly before we do get started, this weekend, the World Pool meeting, it is just the Lightning Stakes at Flemington. But over in Saudi Arabia for their big event on Saturday night Australian time, over across in Saudi Arabia, the racing kicks off there at 4:20 for the races we'll take in. So the 2/8 Cup, the Saudi Derby, the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, the 1351 Turf Sprint, the Neom Turf Cup, the Red Sea Turf Handicap, and the Saudi Cup. So we're taking in a lot of races this weekend from Saudi Arabia. Of course, it is their big day. We saw the Japanese absolutely dominate that meeting last season. Of course, Romantic Warrior went down to Forever Young in a ding-dong battle. Of course, we are brought to you by the World Pool. Make sure you do bet with the World Pool and the Hong Kong Jockey Club this weekend. But let's get straight into it. The Group 1 Lightning Stakes is the first race for the World Pool punters this weekend at Flemington, 1,000 metres down the straight. Up on your screen right now is the speed map. Really interesting race here with the 8 horses in. 5 3-year-olds, which is really intriguing as well. I think Military Tycoon and Mahuna will roll forward. Baywalk is more of a 1,200 metre, 1,400 metre horse. I don't know what he's going to do over the 1,000 metres. Benedetta will look to get the smother. Barraquil could sort of pop himself anywhere. But we know what Giga Kick and Tentyrus are going to do. They're going to sort of look to get the smother in behind the speed and look to explode late. I think Tentyrus will try and get on My Gladiola's backside and look to get to the outside fence, which is usually the quickest part at Flemington. Let's take a look at a couple of replays, the first of which being the Coolmore Stud Stakes, which was won by Tentyrus. Baywalk is the Godolphin horse in the blue capped. Tentyrus is the one in the white cap, about to get through the gap now. My Gladiola is the grey as well, who's following Tentyrus through. I think Baywalk just didn't come through that amazing Golden Rose win where he absolutely broke the clock. But look at this, exploding away, race is over. Mark Zara sits up to celebrate. My Gladiola, good through the line, was then beaten at odds on in a fillies race at her next start, which may have had enough by then after that big run in the Coolmore Stud Stakes. The next one here, we do have Benedetta, who's on the outside in the orange cap. Giga Kick about to get through in the Jonathan Munns colours, the red and the white. Now, the roar at Flemington that day was absolutely phenomenal, but we'll just take in this last little bit of the replay here. Magic Time looks to have Giga Kick covered, but he really digs in for the fight. And the cheer that went across the Flemington track that day came across through the TV. It really reverberated. It was fantastic. As you can see, the conditions were not that great that day as well. So there's our two replays for this race, and it's a really interesting race because only one 3-year-old colt that has won the Coolmore Stud Stakes has then won the Lightning Stakes. That was Home Affairs a few years ago. 3 3-year-old colts have won this race in the last 25 years, and 5 3-year-olds overall have won it. So there's been 2 fillies involved in it as well. But just sort of having a look through the history. The history is against Tentyrus, but I fell in love that day. That win at Flemington was absolutely unreal. The trials coming in this time in, he hasn't been knocked around. He's looked fantastic. I also don't think that this is the best Lightning Stakes as well. I think Giga Kick's his main challenger. If Giga Kick's at his best, which we've seen down the straight, he looks ready to go off a couple of jump outs too. And Ethan Brown, who takes the ride, has said he feels better than before he did first up last prep. Now, Ethan did not ride him in a race start last prep, but gave him a spin around in a hit out before his first up run at Caulfield where he won. So the lean currently is to Tentyrus, but I'm really keen to see what the market does here. If they hone in on Giga Kick or Tentyrus, I think one of them will really clear out. I think one of them probably starts closer to odds on than not, but I'm going to lean with Tentyrus at this stage. Let's get across to Saudi Arabia and have a look at 2 races there. Now, we're going out of race order because race number 9 is the Saudi Cup, and I really want to take a look at that race because it's the main race. It's where all the big prize money is. I think everyone's sort of going to be paying attention to that race. And we'll take in a bit of a replay here because this is Forever Young, who's in front at the moment. This is in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year over in America, getting the job done. The first Japanese horse to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, fighting off all the gun Americans who were there. Of course, there was a couple of team rides going on there that we shan't talk about, but Forever Young, just way too strong for them there. He absorbed all the pressure and he was too strong for them late. Now he turns up here, ready to go first up. Last year, this was my favourite race of the calendar year. Him versus Romantic Warrior, where they went to war for the last 600 metres with Forever Young getting over the top late. You have a look through this race, it looks to be a sort of a match race in 2 between Forever Young and Nisos. Bob Baffert trained Nisos over from America, and Bob Baffert through the week has been exuding a lot of confidence about his horse, saying This is like a bucket list race for him. He's ready to go. And these two are every chance of clashing once again over in Dubai next month too. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Bishop Bay, I also think, has a chance. It all depends on what price Forever Young starts. If you're going to get $1.60, $1.70, it's probably going to be a good bet because this field isn't as strong as what the Breeders' Cup Classic was. And I think he's just simply better than them. He's drawn well in barrier 6, so he shouldn't have any troubles. He can sit 2 and 3 wide, as we saw last year in this race where he beat Romantic Warrior. If he can do that and just stay out of trouble, he should be getting the job done. He's the toughest and strongest horse in this race. Obviously, the dirt track over in Saudi, a bit different to America, but he's shown, winning that race, winning in Saudi, that it's going to be no issue whatsoever. I don't think it's going to be as tough as last year where he had to overcome Romantic Warrior. So we'll lean towards Forever Young in this race, but Bishop's Bay may be one to keep in mind for your Quinella Places punters as well. Let's get to race 7, which is the Turf Cup. It's over 2,100 metres, the Neon Turf Cup that is. And last year's winner, Shin Emperor, returns. He won this in really good style. He'll come up short, but he's not in as good as form as he was coming into this race last year. Last year he was coming into this off the back of a second in a Japan Cup. And last year, things really didn't sort of go right for him after the win in this race. So at the odds, maybe looking around him, Royal Champion though, like Royal Champion raced in Australia and he couldn't honestly get past the ambulance. He just was not that good over here. He's gone back to the UK, shown some form, won a couple of races over there, and then has been performing well over the Middle East over their summer series as well. So he's shown us something. He looked back to the horse that we all thought when he came out to Australia that he was going to be. And Alohi Ali obviously won a lead up to the Arc last year in August. Before then, that was at Deauville. Before then, running in the Arc, and it rained sideways. And as soon as that happened, well, this horse wasn't going to win. Obviously beaten 16th and absolutely eased up out of the race. Just completely forget that. Go off the win where he did win at Deauville in really good style, and have a look at his runs in the lead up to some of the 3-year-old races before heading over to the UK for that tilt at the Arc. So really sort of, I guess, not underappreciated horse, but there's a lot of upside there, given this son of Duramente's only had 6 starts, and arguably his 2 best runs have been over the 2,000 metres. So 2,100 metres, not too much of an issue. The fact that he's travelling as well probably shows that he is going all right, because they wouldn't have travelled him if he's not going well at all, because obviously the Japanese do not like taking their horses where they don't think they can win. So he's a really interesting proposition in this race as well. Then you have a look at a horse like Gallon, who wasn't too bad in a Hong Kong Cup over in December. He's just been going all the way around the world, having the best time ever. It'd be great to be Gallon's groom, to be honest, like, because you go all the way around the world with him. But Shin Emperor is going to be your favourite. The lean's probably to Royal Champion, the form that he's in at the moment. I don't want to sort of take even money odds on about Shin Emperor, so maybe Royal Champion's the place to sort of lean on there, but obviously wait to see how the evening's playing on throughout the night there over at Saudi, depending on the track conditions as well. And if there is really heavy market support for Shin Emperor, that probably tells you how well he is going. Well, that is 3 races previewed for the World Pool preview this week. Of course, brought to you by the World Pool and the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Bet with the World and the World Pool this weekend. Plenty of action over the next couple of months coming your way with the World Pool preview. We have racing basically nearly every week for the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, we do have, it might not be World Pool racing, but of course, Kaiying Rising runs around next week. You've got all the big racing coming up in Hong Kong, all the Group 1 racing coming up here in Sydney. It all leads towards FWD Champions Day over in Hong Kong, and of course, Dubai World Cup night, which comes up next month, and then we'll be into the English summer before you know it. So a lot of racing, a lot of good horses, and a lot of punting coming your way on the World Pool preview. Good luck if you're having a bet this weekend, and we'll catch you next time on the World Pool preview.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.